Hey everyone, I hope you're well. Today we're going to be talking about Legend Buff and Nerf concepts. Now what's really interesting about this game and the meta of this game is that firstly, the developers are always trying to make each character have kind of like that shining moment in the meta. They're always trying to buff different legends, and the meta really does change from season to season. The worst legend right now, for example, Rampart, may in the future be pretty good, just like how Gibby, Revenant, and Caustic have all had their moment in the spotlight. And the second really cool thing is that Respawn are always there listening to community feedback and ideas on buffs. So that means that these buffs, whilst maybe not in their exact form, may end up in the game somewhere down the future if they get enough feedback and Respawn like the idea. So let's get into it. I have a bunch of different buffs and nerfs that I would love to see in Season 7 and beyond. First up, we have Bangalore's buff to her ult. This is an idea that just makes so much sense to me. Let me explain how it would work. So a lot of people have wanted a buff for Bangalore for a long time, but she's actually really well balanced and that's why she's never really changed much. However, I would suggest a really interesting rework for her ultimate. Now, a lot of people kind of want a buff for Bangalore's ult so that the rockets explode faster, which kind of turns the area into a damage-based thing like Gibraltar's ult, but not quite as good. But I would suggest a different approach for it. What if the ultimate rockets stay on the ground longer, which turns it into an even more powerful repositioning tool? You put down the rockets in an area and you can travel through that area freely or around it to reposition, stop other people from pushing you, and it'd really buy yourself some time. And to stop people just pushing through it anyway, what you could really do is make the rockets explode when an enemy comes close to it. So if an enemy tries to run through an area of rockets, they'll all explode on them and they'll probably die. Bangalore could throw her ult in an area, your team would be able to run through it safely, reposition to another area, and the other team just kind of has to wait on the other side and, wait for the rockets to go or risk taking damage to themselves to chase you down. This could end up being too overpowered. So I think the area of the ult would have to be shrunk a little bit, but this rework and change would make Bangalore a very powerful legend for repositioning, and it will give her some value that Wraith's Portal kind of gives to repositioning in high level games. Next, let's talk about Lifeline's passive. This is so strong right now, and I really do think it needs a nerf. The community have kind of expressed their opinion on this, and a lot of people think that there should be a cooldown on Lifeline's passive shield. So she taps someone to res, and then as soon as that res is finished or cancelled, there is then a 5-second cooldown before she can do it again, and that will really stop Lifeline's just spamming reses and getting people up and stopping people from getting kills or in ranked RP score or in tournaments game ending kills that could help a team kind of, score the points they need to get their match point game. I don't know. I think this would be a really good change. Another thing is if you gave the shield some health points so that you could shoot through it and eventually break it. This could be done as well. I think kind of development wise this one might be a little bit harder to do, but Lifeline's passive definitely needs a bit of a tone down because it's just so strong right now and really difficult to go against. Next we have a buff idea for Octane. Now I'm sure a lot of people have kind of thought of this buff idea as well, and I think that it could work well if done right. The problem with Octane is he's a very selfish solo legend. So what if Octane with his tactical could throw down a box of stims that gives the whole team a bunch of stims to use and they can then push fights or something like that. I don't know how well that could go. I honestly don't know, because the main trouble is that if you change Octane's tactical like that, it does kind of remove his solo positioning and escape power, which would suck. So perhaps instead the stim packs could be infused in the Octane jump pad somehow. Maybe if you as a teammate jump on the jump pad, you get stim for a short time or something like that. I don't know. Some way to give teammates speed every now and again could be really, really nice to see. And I think that could be a great change to his kit. But definitely you can't change it too much because I guess it would change the core identity of who Octane is. Now this next ult buff for Loba has been talked about a lot in the community, but I honestly don't think it will happen. Regardless, I think it's good to talk about. So Crypto can now pick up teammates' banners with his drone and even revive them, which is insane. What if Loba could put down her ult and collect her teammates' banners from a distance within the ultimate menu. Now, this would be a really nice change and it would give Loba some more power to help her team. She is a support character after all. However, it does kind of push her away from loot and more towards sort of like an extra support role. Is that a bad thing? Perhaps it kind of messes with the core identity of who Loba is, but then again, we've had Lifeline and Medic have extra loot abilities, so why can't Loba have extra healing abilities? I mean, it could work, It's definitely something that the Respawn team would have to discuss, and perhaps it's something that they never want to do. They may not want to change Loba's identity in that way, but it'd be kind of obvious, right? Loba puts down her ult when you just knocked 2 players. You know that Loba's going to be looting banners, so it's balanced in that way. I definitely think so. Next, we have a buff to Rampart's passive. To me, Rampart's passive being applied to LMGs is kind of a shame, because LMGs aren't really the kind of weapon you want to play competitively with. I mean, they're great if you just want to dish out tons of shots, and they can do really well against multiple squads, but at the end of the day, we're all going to want to go for the high time to kill weapons instead, like the SMGs and the shotgun. A sort of community idea that's been cropping around all over the place is to remove Rampart's current passive and replace it with a new one, and this passive would allow Rampart to pick up a weapon that may need a hop-up, and the hop-up will already be on that weapon. It's kind of like locked in place, so she can't drop it and then give that hop-up to another player or anything, but this would allow Rampart to get more functionality out of a whole range of weapons in the game instead of just LMGs, which would be really, really great. Not only that, but it would also add some team play potential, because loot is kind of like a core mechanic in Battle Royale games, and in Apex especially, when there's a lot on the line, it's hard to get the loot that you need, right? If you're playing in a tournament, maybe someone wants to play a Wingman Skull Piercer, but they can't find a Skull Piercer or something like that. If you have a Rampart on the team, you're guaranteed those hop-ups, which could really change it, really help the loot economy within your own team. I think it's a nice change. I personally would like to see it. I'm not a massive fan of the LMG passive she has right now. One of the best traits about LMGs has basically been gone. I mean, you could hip fire these things and just keep spraying and spraying and spraying, but the spread has been increased on hip fire now, and it's just not a viable strategy anymore. So I just try not to pick up LMGs at all, to be honest. Finally, we have a nerf idea to Revenant's Ultimate. One of the biggest problems with Revenant's Ultimate, honestly, is that out of nowhere, you suddenly just have a team of hyper-aggressive players pushing you hard, and that's kind of an issue, right? The ultimate itself gives you that power and sort of freedom and confidence to create a free push on a squad. It is a third-party nightmare. If the game worked how it should, then that would be fine, but there are some audio issues, so I think a quality of life change and sort of a nerf would be to have a notification for players that a shadow squad has spawned. Perhaps if you're within like 200 meters or something of the Revenant ult being activated, you'll get a message on the screen saying shadows have emerged or something like that. It would make sure that players are aware there's a Revenant push actually happening, so that you don't suddenly have 3 hyper aggressive shadow players suddenly on top of you as you just wiped a squad and you're trying to loot up and heal. I think that would be a really good change, at least until the audio is fixed, and I'd really love to see it in the game. So that's it for me. Thank you so much for watching. We're so close to 250k now, guys, so if you haven't subbed, make sure to sub. Some fun stuff coming at 250k. I'll see you all in the comments. Cheerio! Did you know I stream almost every day from 7 PM UK time or 11 AM Pacific Standard Time? You can catch me live right here on YouTube, so make sure you have notifications turned on. I also have a new members program. Become a member for $2.99 a month, get your comments highlighted in videos, get a cool badge in live stream chat, get access to these cute emotes, and also gain access to my members tips videos, where you can ask me for any tips, and I'll be making new videos weekly to help you improve your own game. Click the join button or click the link in the video description to get involved.